I got about twice as much sleep last night as I did Monday night, and that means the picks are going to be twice as good. It's math. Look it up. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the good folks at NerdTees, and welcome to week 14 of my weekly CFL football pick show for the 2018 CFL regular season and playoffs. And we are coming in off of a white hot week, probably the best week that we've had picking the CFL so far. It was lucky week 13 for us in a big bad way. We went 4-0 straight up. We went 4-0 against the spread, and we split on the point totals, went 2-2. That's a 10-2 week, folks. That's double digits when there's only 12 bets to be made. So that's pretty incredible as far as I'm concerned. Straight up, we're now 33-17 on the season. That's a 66% clip. I like to be closer to 70%. I like to know that I'm picking 70% of the time. I got a good feel for who's going to win a football game. Against the spread, 27-23. That's only 54%. It's about 6 percentage points lower than where I would like to be. I'd like to be known as a 60% ATS capper. I feel like that's a nice, round, psychologically satisfying number. Over under 26-22 with the two pushes. Unfortunately, kind of because of the two pushes, we're only at 52%. Had those two pushes fallen our way, we'd be 56. So we'd actually be better than against the spread. So we're working up closer to 55, pushing towards 60 in that one as well. We're looking at 57.33% of any CFL bet that I've made this season has been correct, which is great. We're 86-62 with the two pushes. We'll update you on the standings here, and we'll start in the East, where, as far as I'm concerned, there's a new top dog. I know technically Ottawa still holds on to number one spot in the East, but if we're talking about what's the best team in the East Division, it's the Hamilton Ticats. Hamilton and Ottawa both at 6-5. Hamilton outscoring opponents by 5 full points now, 28-23. Ottawa just a single point, 24-23. So as far as I'm concerned, Hamilton's the number one team in the East. Toronto and Montreal tied at 3 wins apiece in 11 games. Toronto outscoring opponents being outscored by opponents 31-21. Montreal being outscored by opponents 31-17. Worth pointing out for Alouettes fans like myself, Montreal no longer the worst scoring defense in the CFL. Small victories. In the West Division, Calgary still leads things at 9-2, but they are feeling some pressure behind them from both Saskatchewan and Edmonton. Calgary 9-2, outscoring opponents now 31-20 on the season. Saski 7-4 in second place in the West. Scoring is actually perfectly even there, 25-25. Edmonton also has 7 wins, but it comes in 12 games, so they're a little bit behind Saski at 7-5, outscoring opponents 29-26. Winnipeg kind of falling off the rails here a little bit. They're 5-7. That offense is still great, scoring 30 points a game, but the defense now kind of caving, giving up 26. BC still pulling up the rear in the West Division at 4-6, being outscored by opponents 25-23. Week 14 only brings us 3 games. We got a bunch of teams on bye, and you know what that means. It's the season finale of the do's and don'ts edition of the show. It's the last one we're going to do this season. Single tier. And our 3-game slate looks like this. The BC Lions travel to Montreal to take on the suddenly rolling Alouettes. Calgary is in Hamilton to take on the Tiger Cats, and Ottawa now has to travel to Saskatchewan to take on the Roughriders. Ottawa continuing that West Division swing. Let's start in Montreal with the Lions and the Owls. Again, BC Lions in town. They won their game last week. However, this is a team that is yet to win a game on the road this season. They're 0-5 away from home. Lions' win last week was a 26-14 decision over the Ottawa REDBLACKS. The Lions losing their starting center, Cody Husband. He's on the 6-game injured reserve. I believe it was a knee injury, leg injury. Now, they did add wide receiver Devier Posey, who you may remember was the MVP of the Grey Cup last season for the Argonauts. Also worth pointing out, Travis Lulay on Monday practiced with the first team offense. It looks like he is fine, so that's definitely a sigh of relief for Lions fans. If you're the BC Lions, do play patient in the secondary. You're facing Antonio Pipkin this week. Pipkin has been able to win these last couple of games for the Alouettes due in large part to his legs. He's been able to win running the football, but this is a quarterback that has thrown 4 interceptions in his 3 starts this season. There will be opportunities for the BC Lions defense, which is an opportunistic defense, a very active secondary. There will be opportunities in Pipkin's pass game to come up with some pass knockdowns, translate a couple of those into interceptions. But if you're the BC Lions, don't mistake this as the same football team that you beat in week 1. Montreal from week 1 to now is a sturdier, more disciplined, and from top to bottom, a better football team. If BC walks into this game with any idea, any notion that this is the same team that they would have played in week 1, or even a similar team that they would have played in week 1, they're going to get punched in the mouth because it's simply not the case. Where does that improvement come from? Confidence. Where does confidence come from? Hey, winning back-to-back football games. So let's talk about Montreal. Montreal coming into this game on a 2-game winning streak. They're only 1-4 at home, so they've only won 1 home game this season. But for most of the season, this was a bad football team. This is not a bad football team right now. Als come into this game off of their bye, also coming in off of a 22-11 win over the Ottawa REDBLACKS back in week 12. Hey, both of these teams are coming into this game off of wins over the REDBLACKS. Montreal's defense in that game held Trevor Harris to under 55% passing, just 270 yards. Anytime Montreal holds any quarterback to under 300 yards, it's noteworthy. They didn't allow him to throw a touchdown. They did force him to throw an interception. And most notably, they held the REDBLACKS as a team to just 58 yards rushing. Speaking of rushing, I feel like I was one of the first people to start noticing and start talking about the fact that Montreal, hey, we might not be winning football games, but we're actually beating teams on the ground. So if you are the Alouettes, do keep pounding. In both of these back-to-back wins, Montreal has won time of possession. Now, granted, one of the games was only by about 5 seconds, but they still won time of possession. They won time of possession, they won rushing yards, they won rushing touchdowns, they split on turnovers, and split on penalties at worst. One of the games, they actually had fewer penalties. In these areas that they've finally been able to kind of turn the corner and say, hey, we can beat most teams most of the time, they absolutely cannot divert from that in the least. It's the only thing that's allowed them to find success. This kind of ties in, but it's a little more specific. If you're the Alouettes, don't fall back into the same old routine. And what I mean by that specifically is Montreal took 9 penalties in the Ottawa game. 4 on the offense, 4 on the defense, 1 on special teams. Now, Ottawa took 9 penalties as well. So it's okay, great, cool, they split on penalties. But no, what that tells me is that their opponent let them off the hook. Because whether they had as many penalties as them or not, 9 penalties is too many. You got to clean up the discipline because especially when you're playing a team that probably on paper, top to bottom, is better than you are, you can't give them free yardage. You can't give them free opportunities. The rest of BC's games on the road this season after this one are against teams that are probably objectively better football teams than they are. So this probably stands as BC's last best chance to win a game on the road this season. But I got to be honest, in Pipkin I trust. I'm going to go with the Alouettes here. It's a good position for them. They're at home, even though they've only won 1 home game so far this season. They're at home against a team that does not travel well at all, has not won a game on the road yet this season. I like Montreal here. I can't believe I'm going to say that the Alouettes are possibly, or I'm picking them at least, to win their 3rd consecutive game, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking the Alouettes in this football game. Montreal at home beats BC. Montreal is a 3-point dog at home in this game, so hey, I like them to win straight up, so I really like the 3 points there. Take Montreal +3. Total in the game is set at 49 points, and actually I think all three of the totals this week, for the most part, are pretty darn good. 49 points, I think I have to stay under on it. This is two offenses that, I mean, in the grand scheme of the CFL, they're not great. What did we say earlier? BC's averaging 23 points a game. Montreal's only averaging 17. So I do like Montreal to win, but I don't think it goes over that number. I would have expected to see maybe a 46 or a 45.5, which would really make this job difficult. Let's go to Hamilton now, where the Ticats are going to host the West Division leading Calgary Stampeders. We will start with Calgary, coming off a loss last week, just their second loss of the season. Calgary only 3-2 on the road, so both of their losses this season have come away from home. That loss last week was a 48-42 decision against the Edmonton Eskimos in what I said last week was probably a must-win game for the Eskimos, and they did that. Calgary, mounting a furious 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter, falls a little bit short. They got doomed by the fact that they turned the ball over 7 times, which is not at all Stampeder football. If you're the Calgary Stampeders, do remember that it is very difficult to win football games if you turn the ball over 7 times. There's nothing else to say there. Just don't turn the ball over 7 times. But if you're the Calgary Stampeders, don't turn the ball over 7. No, I'm sorry. If you're the Stampeders, don't put the world on Bo Levi Mitchell's shoulders. The fact that this Stampeders team is 9-2 kind of masks a little bit of what I've been seeing from Bo Levi Mitchell. This is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But in saying that, his completion percentage has declined over 2% from last season. And this is a quarterback that has thrown a bunch over the last 4 years. He had one season in there where he attempted over 600 passes. There's a lot of mileage on that arm for Bo Levi Mitchell. I hope he's not a lefty. He's now at a career-high pace for interceptions. He's on pace to throw 13 or 14 interceptions. 14 would be a career high. So the fact that this team is 9-2, kind of masking the fact that they're probably running their quarterback into the ground, maybe need to let up on him a little bit. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are unquestionably the hottest team in the East Division right now. 3 consecutive wins. They're also over 500 at home at 3-2. Ticats come into this game off of a 36-25 win over the Toronto Argos last week. It was a costly win for Hamilton as they lose Jalen Saunders for the season. That is a huge part of their offensive game. Now, they did go out and add former 1,300-yard receiver Chad Owens, so that's another weapon in their arsenal. Chad Owens is on the high side of 35, so it's questionable what kind of numbers he's going to produce, but at the same time, he's been a dynamic playmaker in this league before. If you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats, do force feed Alex Green. Green didn't score a touchdown last week, but that's okay, because I believe he had scored 5 in 3 games leading up to that game last week, and he still had 13 carries. Green has had at least 13 carries in all 5 of his games this season. He's also getting 2 to 3 touches in the pass game every week. That's great. Give me more. Give me more Alex Green, especially if I'm a Ticats fan. I'm screaming for it. More Alex Green. He has been taking teams' lunch monies since they put him in this season. Give me more Alex Green. But if you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats, don't keep losing the pressure game at the line. What I mean by that is Hamilton's not really putting pressure on a quarterback. Hamilton has the second fewest sacks in the CFL this season. They've allowed the 4th most. So they're allowing their quarterback to get more pressure than they're putting on the opposing quarterback. That's a problem, especially with Bo Levi Mitchell on the Calgary side. We still don't know 1,000% like what's going on with that knee. Is there something there? Is there nothing? The way you find that out is you put pressure on him. Start sending blitzes. You got to blitz more often against Calgary. You got to put the pressure on them and force them to make plays to beat you. See if there really is a problem back there. Hamilton has to do that in this football game. If they don't do that, if they let Bo Levi Mitchell sit back there, he's going to torch them. In brief conversation last night with the boys in the CFL group chat on Twitter, TK made an excellent point, and that was This is a game that Hamilton needs much more than Calgary. And we said that last week about Edmonton too. But the more I thought about it, I was like, this is the make or break game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the season. You're tied for the division lead. This is the class of the CFL that you're playing on your home field. This is the ultimate sink or swim. Make a statement or shrivel. And that's what this week is for Hamilton. I'm going to go with the desperate football team who's playing at home. I'm actually going to go with Hamilton in the upset to hang a second straight loss on the Calgary Stampeders. Let's take the Tiger Cats at home to beat Calgary. On the line, Hamilton is a 1.5 dog at home, so I like them to win. So obviously we're going to take Hamilton plus a 1.5. Total in this game is 51 points. I think it has to go over because you're talking about one of the best offenses in the West Division and the best offense in the East Division. So at 51, I kind of would have expected maybe like a 53 or a 54, but we are talking about two good defenses. But Calgary just came off of a game where they gave up 48. So, I mean, I'm going to go with the over on this one. 51 points, it's not too many to me. And before we move on to our third and final game of the week, I will take the opportunity, like I always do, to pump the tires of our good friends at NerdTees. NerdTees.ca. Use the promo code BWFinest. Save yourself 15% at checkout. Free shipping in Canada on any order over $50. If you're American, boom, you can do the conversion to US dollars right there on the website. You just click a little button. All of a sudden, everything's in US dollars. Great exchange rate on the Canadian dollar right now. Find yourself something to love at NerdTees, just like I did. I just made an order at nerdtees.ca. I just used the promo code BWFinest to save yourself 15%. And today's blend is a new one, Tangerine Twist. The Tangerine Twist is a black tea that incorporates real orange pieces with blackberry as well as lime. So it's a nice citrusy taste. It's not nearly as bitter and as strong as some of the other black teas that I've tried, which I don't do well with. Like, that's why I don't drink coffee. Like, I don't really do well with super strong tastes. This is smooth, kind of understated. Nerdtees.ca, promo code BWFinest. I can recommend the Tangerine Twist, but take a look and find yourself something to love. Our final game of the week sees us travel to Rider Nation. We've got the Ottawa REDBLACKS traveling to Saskatchewan to take on the Roughriders. The REDBLACKS are losers of 2 straight games. They have an under 500 record on the road at 2-3. They're coming off of a 14-26 loss to the BC Lions. We talked about that game a little bit when we talked about BC, but on Ottawa's side, it was 2 more interceptions for Trevor Harris. They relieve him, they replace him with Dominique Davis, who comes in, attempts 3 passes, and I believe his second one was an interception. If you're the Ottawa REDBLACKS, keep doing one of the things that you've really been doing right all season, which is spreading your offense. Even in that game where they only scored 14 points and lost the game by 12, they had 6 receivers that had multiple catches. They had 4 that had at least 3 catches. They had 3 that had at least 4 catches. So they're spreading the offense out well, and that makes a defense really have to think twice about, like, geez, where's the ball going to go? There's like 4 guys that the ball could go to on this play. If you keep a defense guessing, you're putting yourself in good position. But if you're the REDBLACKS, don't, and I don't know why you've been doing it up to this point, don't keep undervaluing William Powell. William Powell is the second leading rusher in the CFL right now, behind only Andrew Harris, otherwise known as the Good Harris. There is no reason why Ottawa is not funneling their offense through William Powell. There's no reason that William Powell should not be getting 25 touches a game, maybe more. There's no reason why they shouldn't be using William Powell the same way Winnipeg uses Andrew Harris. Use him more in the pass game. Give him more touches on first down. Anyone that runs play action, what does that do? Opens up opportunities down the field. Maybe part of the reason that Trevor Harris has been throwing so many interceptions is defenses are keyed into what they're doing. What they need to do, focus more on William Powell so that then when you fake it to William Powell, you're going to have all kinds of opportunities downfield. And we finish off with the hottest team, inarguably, the hottest team in the CFL. The Saskatchewan Roughriders on a 4-game winning streak. They are 4-2 at home this season, so a pretty darn good home team. Coming off of a 5-point victory, 32-27, their second straight victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Banjo Bowl. Defense wins Banjo Bowls, I guess. Saskatchewan generates 5 interceptions in that game last week, 3 for Matt Nichols, 2 for Chris Strevler, who everyone in Bomber Nation is now calling for as a savior, and 2 of those interceptions went for pick sixes. They put 14 points on the board off of interceptions. That was the difference in the football game. If you're Sasky, more of the same this week. Do capitalize on Trevor Harris's mediocrity. Like when we were talking about BC in the Montreal game, there's going to be opportunities in this passing game. Trevor Harris has not been good enough basically on the entire season. So there's going to be opportunities here in the pass game to knock passes down, turn those pass knockdowns into interceptions. Trevor Harris will give you opportunities in your secondary for turnovers. And when he gives you those opportunities, you've got to play patient. You've got to play opportunistic. You got to turn those opportunities into turnovers. But if you're the Roughriders, don't hand over free first downs. Penalties in that game against Winnipeg that directly resulted in Winnipeg first downs. Directly resulted in first downs. They had 5 of them in that game, at least. And that's a problem. That's a problem if you're playing competitive football. One of those penalties negated a Roughriders interception. They got an interception, got negated because they took a penalty. And that's just another opportunity. And I believe on that same drive, Winnipeg scored a touchdown. So you can't hand over free first downs. The teams in this league are good enough getting first downs on their own. You can't hand them free ones. You'll recall when I made the pick in the Hamilton-Calgary game, I didn't pick Calgary to win. A Calgary loss for Saskatchewan could mean them pulling within 2 points if they win this football game. Let's go with it. Ottawa's a desperate football team, don't get me wrong, but they're going to get outclassed in this football game because Saski, top to bottom, is just a better team. Looks like Zach Collaros is going to play, so let's go with Saski in this one. Let's take the Roughriders at home, taking all 3 of the home teams, to beat Ottawa. On the line, Saski favored by 4 points at home. Take that big time. It's under a touchdown. Saski should win this game in something of a walk because I really don't believe in Ottawa. So Saski -4, we will definitely take that. Total in the game is 50.5 points. I think I have to stay under on it. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to get from Ottawa's offense. They don't seem like they're willing to give William Powell more touches. I think they'd score more points if they did that, but I don't know that they're necessarily willing to do that. So I think I got to stay under on it because I don't expect Saski to put up 40. I don't think they're going to do that because Ottawa can play some defense. So 50.5 points, I think I got to stay under on it. All right, folks, there you have it. Those are the CFL picks for Week 14. Let's go over the picks here with you one more time. I got the Montreal Alouettes at home knocking off the BC Lions for their 3rd straight win. I like Montreal +3 against the spread in a game that stays under the 49 points. I like Hamilton at home to upset Calgary. Obviously like Hamilton +1.5 points on the line there since I like them to win outright. And I like the game to go over 51 points. And in the week finale, I like Saski at home to beat the Red Blacks. That would be the Red Blacks, 3rd straight loss, I believe it was. Saski -4 against the spread in a game that stays under 50.5 points. All right, folks, that is going to do it for Week 14 in the CFL. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled, as always, by the good folks at NerdTees, nerdtees.ca. Use that promo code BWFinest. Save yourself 15% at checkout. Find yourself something to love, all that good stuff. Enjoy the CFL games in Week 14. We will be back for Week 15.